Hello, our Lives channel. Today we will learn about the explosive situation unfolding between Thomas DiMera, his father Chad DiMera, and the woman who dared to impersonate his beloved late mother, Abigail DiMera. The emotional fallout from Rachel Black's shocking revelation is about to send shockwaves through the DiMera mansion, and Thomas is on the verge of a complete emotional breakdown that could change everything. The devastating discovery. The peaceful atmosphere at the DiMera estate has been shattered beyond repair after Thomas DiMera found himself caught in an unexpected confrontation with Rachel Black during what should have been a routine power outage. What started as a simple disagreement between two children quickly escalated into something far more sinister and life-altering for the young DiMera heir. The darkness that enveloped Salem during the blackout seemed to mirror the darkness that was about to consume Thomas's innocent world. Rachel, fueled by her own anger and frustration, made the devastating decision to expose secrets that were never meant for Thomas's young ears. In her moment of rage, she revealed the truth that Chad had been deliberately hiding from his son, that he and Kat Green were not merely friends as Chad had claimed, but were actually involved in a romantic relationship. Rachel's bombshell revelation. But Rachel's cruel disclosure didn't stop there, and what came next would prove to be even more traumatic for Thomas to process. Drawing from her own memories of when Kat first arrived in Salem, Rachel reminded Thomas of the horrifying truth about Kat's initial appearance at the DiMera mansion. She revealed that Kat had walked through their family home pretending to be Abigail DiMera, Thomas's deceased mother, in a calculated act of deception that cut deeper than any physical wound could. The image of someone impersonating his beloved mother, whom he still mourns deeply, sent Thomas into a state of complete shock and disbelief. This wasn't just about his father dating someone new. This was about someone deliberately pretending to be the woman who gave him life, the woman whose memory he cherishes every single day. For a child who has already endured the unimaginable pain of losing his mother, this revelation represented a betrayal of the highest order, a violation of the sacred memory he holds onto so desperately. Thomas's emotional shutdown. The aftermath of Rachel's devastating revelation has left Thomas in a state of profound emotional distress that has everyone around him deeply concerned. Julie Williams, the ever-perceptive family matriarch, noticed immediately that something was terribly wrong with the young boy. When she reached out to Chad via telephone to discuss her concerns, she described Thomas's behavior as unusually quiet and withdrawn, a stark departure from his normally vibrant personality. This uncharacteristic silence is particularly alarming to those who know Thomas well, as it suggests that he's processing something far too overwhelming for his young mind to handle. Julie's instincts told her that this wasn't just a passing mood, but rather the calm before an inevitable storm. Chad, upon hearing about his son's concerning behavior, immediately felt a wave of worry wash over him. However, according to Days of Our Lives spoilers, Chad's concerns are only going to intensify as the situation continues to deteriorate in the October 3rd episode. The Building Fury. What makes this situation particularly dangerous is the way Thomas is handling his emotions. Or rather, not handling them. Instead of immediately confronting his father about what Rachel told him, Thomas appears to be bottling up his rage and hurt, letting it build and build like pressure in a volcano waiting to erupt. This internalization of such powerful emotions is a ticking time bomb that threatens to explode at any moment. The longer Thomas remains silent, the more intense his eventual outburst is likely to be. Child psychologists would recognize this pattern as deeply concerning. A young boy who has already suffered tremendous loss now facing what he perceives as a betrayal from the one parent he has left. Chad, sensing that something is deeply wrong but not knowing the full extent of what Thomas knows, may continue to press his son for answers, inadvertently pushing Thomas closer and closer to his breaking point. The inevitable confrontation. Days of Our Lives spoilers suggest that Thomas's emotional dam is about to break in spectacular fashion. When the confrontation finally comes, it promises to be one of the most heart-wrenching scenes viewers have witnessed in recent memory. Chad's persistent attempts to get Thomas to open up about what's bothering him will likely serve as the final trigger that unleashes the flood of emotions Thomas has been desperately trying to contain. In his young mind, Thomas is grappling with multiple layers of betrayal and confusion. First, there's the shock of learning that his father has been lying to him about the nature of his relationship with Kat. Then there's the horror of discovering that Kat pretended to be his mother. And perhaps most devastating of all, there's the feeling that his father is somehow betraying Abigail's memory by moving on with the very woman who dared to impersonate her. Thomas's emotional outburst. When Thomas finally unleashes his fury, the words that come pouring out of him will likely reflect the depth of his pain and confusion. He may confront his father about already knowing the truth about his relationship with Kat, throwing Chad's deception back in his face with the brutal honesty that only a hurt child can deliver. The revelation that Chad has been lying to him will feel like a fundamental breach of trust, especially coming from the parent who is supposed to protect him and always tell him the truth. Thomas may accuse his father of dishonesty, pointing out that if Chad could lie about this, what else has he been lying about? This loss of trust could have long-lasting implications for their father-son relationship. The Abigail factor. The most emotionally charged aspect of Thomas's breakdown will undoubtedly center around Kat's unconscionable act of impersonating his mother. For Thomas, this isn't just about someone playing dress-up or telling a lie. It's about someone deliberately taking on the identity of the person he loved most in the world, someone who can never be replaced. The fact that Kat would do such a thing, regardless of her reasons or circumstances, represents an unforgivable violation in Thomas's eyes. He may express his rage at Kat for daring to pretend to be Abigail, for walking through their home as if she had any right to assume his mother's identity. The emotional wounds from losing Abigail are still so fresh and raw for Thomas, and Kat's actions have essentially ripped those wounds wide open again. The betrayal of memory. Beyond his anger at Kat, Thomas may also direct his fury toward his father for what he perceives as a betrayal of Abigail's memory. In Thomas's mind, how can Chad claim to have loved Abigail when he's now romantically involved with the woman who impersonated her? It seems like a cruel mockery of everything his mother meant to their family. Thomas may question whether his father truly loved Abigail at all if he can move on with someone who showed such disrespect for her memory. These are complex emotions for anyone to process, let alone a child, and they may manifest in accusations that cut Chad to his core. Thomas might say things he doesn't fully mean in his anger, but words spoken in moments of intense emotion can leave lasting scars on relationships. The ultimatum. According to Days of Our Lives spoilers, Thomas's emotional breakdown may culminate in him making a dramatic demand of his father and Kat that they end their relationship immediately. This ultimatum represents Thomas's desperate attempt to regain some control over a situation that feels completely out of his control. In his young mind, if Kat and Chad break up, perhaps things can go back to the way they were before, when he felt safe and secure in his father's love and loyalty to his mother's memory. Of course, the situation is far more complicated than Thomas can fully understand, and his demand puts both Chad and Kat in an impossible position. Chad's dilemma. For Chad, his son's demand creates a heartbreaking dilemma with no easy solution. On one hand, Thomas is his child, and his son's emotional well-being must be his top priority. Thomas has already lost so much in his young life, and Chad would do anything to protect him from further pain. If honoring Thomas's request means ending things with Kat, Chad may seriously consider doing so, despite his growing feelings for her. On the other hand, Chad's heart has finally started to heal after Abigail's death, and his connection with Kat, complicated though it may be, represents a chance at finding happiness again. He may genuinely care for Kat and believe that their relationship could become something meaningful and lasting. Chad will have to navigate these treacherous emotional waters carefully, trying to help Thomas understand while also being honest about his own needs and feelings. Kat's responsibility. Kat Green also bears a heavy responsibility in this situation, and she may recognize that she needs to take an active role in helping to heal the wounds she's inadvertently caused. While she was coerced by Clyde Weston into impersonating Abigail, that doesn't erase the pain her actions have caused Thomas and the rest of the DiMera family. Kat may feel compelled to sit down with Thomas and offer him a sincere, heartfelt apology for pretending to be his mother. She could explain the circumstances that led to her actions, not to excuse them, but to help Thomas understand that she never intended to cause him pain. By showing genuine remorse and taking accountability for her role in the deception, Kat might be able to begin the long process of earning Thomas's forgiveness, or at least his understanding. The path forward. The coming days will test the DiMera family in ways they never anticipated. Chad will need to draw on every ounce of his parenting skills and emotional intelligence to guide Thomas through this crisis. He may need to be completely honest with his son about his feelings for Kat, while also validating Thomas's pain and anger about the situation. Chad might explain that loving someone new doesn't mean he loved Abigail any less, or that he's forgotten her. He could help Thomas understand that people's hearts have room for multiple loves, and that moving forward doesn't mean leaving Abigail's memory behind. However, convincing a grieving, angry child of these complex emotional truths will be no easy task, and Chad may find that words alone aren't enough to bridge the gap that has opened between them.